Okay, guys, I want to take some time and review with you some observations that I made when looking at your literary analysis essays. And I was looking over them recently and was not really uh, very happy with the lack of attention to the outline that was created for you. We thought that outline was something that was really fill in and type, and you've got your outline and your rough draft in the same paper, and then you can very easily use that to create your final draft. But in looking at some of the essays recently, I don't think people really followed that format and the suggestions we made in class very well. So I'm going to give this one last try to um, have you and ask you to listen and follow along to this sample essay that I've created. And then in turn, go back and look at your essay and see if your essay follows the format and expectations that are listed here. So you'll notice throughout this essay that some things are bolded and highlighted. I want to make something really, really, really clear. Okay, and here it is. Do not, do not highlight things in your essay. Do not bold things in your essay. They are done here for example purposes to point things out that you should be looking for in your essay. So, again, do not highlight things in different colors. Do not bold things. This is meant to point important items out on this essay. So, name, teachers, class, just the class number at the end, date essay is due, literary analysis is the title, and notice format, double spaced, format, universal font all the way through, format, 12-point font all the way through. These are very standard things for essay outline and essay writing. The first thing you'll notice in that opening paragraph is that I start with a hook. Before we started writing, we said, hey, you've got 3 different options you can use for creating a hook for your essay. You can use a quotation hook where you find a quote about your theme concept, which is that one word, one idea your entire essay focuses around. You could use a descriptive hook where you kind of paint a picture maybe about a important scene from one, either the story or the poem that we are using. Or you could use a metaphor or a simile where you take your theme concept and you compare it to something, maybe using the phrase like or as. For my example essay, the first thing you see indented is a quotation. I use a quotation hook. I went out and found a quote about love. And so my quote, that is my hook, says American actress Loretta Young once said, love isn't something you find, love is something that finds you. So my entire essay, the reader will very clearly see is going to be about love. If I go back to my outline, letter B in the introduction paragraph says, general sentence about the author and the text. I've actually turned that into 2 sentences. Okay, and they're right here. The author, Gary Soto, commonly writes about topics that are relatable to young readers, such as times when they think that love has found them. So I'm talking about the author, and I'm tying it back into my hook about love finding you. In his works, Oranges and 7th Grade, Soto proves this to be true, as well as the theme that love can make you do ridiculous things. The first thing you see highlighted there, before I even leave my introduction paragraph, my audience knows first that my theme I'm going to talk about is love can make you do ridiculous things. Then you see these 5 bolded words of highlighted in yellow. This can be seen in. This is a sentence starter directly from your outline. I did not see this in a lot of people's essays. This can be seen in the use of conflict, characters, and climax of each text. Before my reader even leaves the introduction paragraph, they also know what 3 things they're going to be hearing about. They're going to be hearing about the conflict in these stories. They're going to be hearing about the characters in these stories. And they're going to be hearing about the climax of these stories. And it's going to be done in that order. Our writing should not just be good to read, it should be organized as well so our message is clear. So here's my first body paragraph coming up. Before I go any further, I want to just point out the fact that my introductory paragraph is a total of 4 sentences. That is based on the outline itself. 4 sentences to start off my essay. You'll notice 1, 2, 3 places in the first body paragraph that are bolded and yellow. Again, you should not do that in yours. What I'm pointing out here is you've got 1, 2, 3 places where you had a sentence starter built into your outline, and we didn't see people use it like we would have liked to. Some people just flat out ignored it and left it out altogether. So I start with a sentence starter. In both texts, the author uses similar conflict. And here I go. Remind the reader, this is what my first paragraph is going to be about. My whole first paragraph is about the conflict that these stories have. In both texts, the author uses conflict, similar conflict, that each main character faces in their story and shows the effect that love can have on people. Another sentence starter from the outline. For example, in 7th grade, Victor has internal conflict when he wants to impress Teresa by making everyone think that he knows French, when he really knows that he doesn't. That's pointing out the conflict that character faces. In the poem Oranges, now they know I'm moving on to the next text that I'm going to talk about. The main character faces internal conflict because he does not have enough money to show the girl that he likes her, but wants to buy her something that she really would like. Through the conflicts in this story, the reader sees the characters and their desires show through. This is my conclusion/transition sentence. Conclusion because it wraps up the paragraph. Transition because it helps the reader go from one paragraph to the next very smoothly. I've included in my conclusion or transition sentence the use of the word conflict to let them know and remind them, here's what we just talked about. And then I use the word characters so that they know the paragraph that's coming up next is going to talk about the characters. When I look back, I've got 4 sentences here. 1, 2, 3, 4. That is 8 total sentences so far. My next paragraph starts off with another sentence starter, again, directly from the outline. Why this is not starting your sentence of body paragraph 2, for some of you, I'm not sure, because it's right there. Soto helps the reader understand his message with the use of similar characters. So I have the word characters not only in the last sentence of the first body paragraph, I have it in the first sentence of the second body paragraph. Soto helps the reader understand his message with the use of similar characters of Oranges and 7th grade, and their actions show, just as a reminder, the theme, love can make you do ridiculous things. To be true. Here we go again. For example, in 7th grade, I'm going to tell the reader about that story and the character in it. Victor shows that he is nervous by how he first talks to Teresa when she says hello to him on the first day of school. In the poem Oranges, The main character shows anxiousness and nervousness in making decisions like paying with fruit. I've talked about both stories. I have my introduction sentence, and here comes another conclusion slash transition sentence. These two characters, reminding the reader what they just read about, have their actions lead to a significant climax in the story. So here's what I just got done talking about, the characters, and here's what I'm going to talk about next, the climax. This body paragraph, another 4 sentences. That's 12 total sentences in my essay so far. I come to my third and final body paragraph. I'm reminding the reader now we're talking about climax. I throw in the theme again to keep them on track. And then I got a couple of sentence starters that I use here. These two stories share in having a memorable climax, which show that love can make you do ridiculous things. For example, in 7th grade, Victor has an important moment as he waits to see how his teacher will respond to his poor French speaking. In the poem Oranges, there is a moment where the narrator waits with uncertainty to see if the shop clerk is going to accept his money and his orange for candy that he is buying for the girl that he likes. Introduction sentence, 7th grade sentence, Oranges sentence. Now, this conclusion sentence of my third body paragraph is a little different because I need to let the reader know I'm wrapping up now and I'm ready to move on to close up my essay. So I begin with the words in conclusion. In conclusion, each of these two stories has the use of literary elements to show that the universal theme is present. There's another 4 sentences. So now I'm up to 16 total sentences for this essay. This brings me to my conclusion paragraph. And on your outline, this is done with 3 sentences. Okay, the first one is a restating the thesis. Love can make you do ridiculous things is a theme that can be found in the writing of author Gary Soto and his poems Oranges and the short story 7th grade. So I've reminded the reader what I've set out to prove. I remind them in the second sentence, reviewing the 3 main ideas, reviewing with them the 3 things, reminding them of the 3 things that I talked about in my essay. I talked about conflict. I talked about characters. I talked about climax. And then the last thing is I am supposed to explain to the reader the importance of the literary elements in my stories. Love found both main characters during these stories and the crazy things it made them do that can be found in these stories and beyond. That's another 3 sentences. That is a total of 19 sentences. So please, please, please take some time and go back and look over your essay. Make sure you have these things we've talked about in this video. And if you need to make some revisions before we grade the essays, then please do that because we want your best work. We want you to earn the best grades you can. And the only way you can do that is by making sure that your work is the best it can possibly be.